Episode 4-7 is where A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms stops feeling like a charming tourney story about a big hedge knight and his odd little squire and starts feeling like true Westerosi drama. So after the confrontation with Aerion Targaryen at the end of episode 3, Dunk is arrested and accused of assaulting a Targaryen prince, which in Westeros is already a death sentence politely waiting its turn. But then it gets worse because now Daeron Targaryen claims Dunk kidnapped his little brother. So Dunk isn't facing just one charge of treason, he's facing two. Double the treason. Double the fun? And just like that, the tone of the show shifts. The turning antics are over. The jokes feel smaller. The stakes feel very, very real. This is no longer about pride or embarrassment or a scuffle in the field. This is about whether a nobody hedge knight will live or die because the royal family decides he should. First, we have to talk about Egg. Visually, incredible. The outfit was immaculate. He looks like a tiny Sith Lord, and honestly, that's the best kind of Lord to resemble. But underneath the cloak and the drip is one of the most important character turns of the episode. When Egg reveals who he really is to Sir Duncan the Tall, it's not a proud moment. It's an ashamed one. There's no surprise, I'm royalty energy. There's guilt because he understands in that moment that Dunk is in chains because of his last name, because of the entitlement and cruelty that comes with being born a Targaryen in this era. You can almost see the future king forming in real time, the empathy, the discomfort with privilege, the realization that Dunk, the low-born, unpolished, insecure knight, is the most honorable person in this entire situation. Egg stops being a comic relief here and becomes the moral lens of the episode. Then we get scenes with Baelor Targaryen, and they are fantastic. Baelor immediately reads as a man who cares about justice and the people of the realm, not just protecting his family at all costs. He listens, he observes, he actually thinks before he speaks. You can tell this is someone who has spent his life weighing right and wrong instead of simply defending blood. And when he finally rides out to be Dunk's 7th champion with the swell of the Game of Thrones theme behind him, the moment lands with the emotional weight it was meant to. It felt earned, it felt heroic, it felt like classic Thrones in the best possible way. Not shock value, not spectacle, just a powerful man quietly choosing to do the right thing. But on the other side of the family, we have Maekar Targaryen, who is absolutely having none of his son's nonsense. Watching him physically discipline Aerion and then hearing about Daeron is both brutal and weirdly funny in a very Westerosi way. He's furious, embarrassed, and clearly exhausted by his sons. But there's also something sympathetic there. If you genuinely believe some hedge knight kidnapped one of your sons and beat the hell out of another, and then your brother publicly sided with that man, you would be losing your mind. Maekar, all things considered, is surprisingly restrained. And Daeron, honestly, better than expected. For the limited screen time he gets, he does a solid job. I do wish they had kept more of his dialogue from the novella, because there's nuance there that would have added to this episode, but what we got was still effective. Aerion, meanwhile, remains a rat bastard. No growth, no nuance, no redeeming qualities whatsoever. But his armor, unbelievably cool. Hate the man, love the outfits. Same with the rotten apple Fossaway. His armor is gorgeous, and seriously what Steely Pate warned about. And he did a great job playing the backstabbing POS. I read the novella, so I knew his turncloak ways, but even I was convinced, like, hey, this dude really seems to have Dunk's back. Now, we have to talk about the fart. Did we really need a guy ripping ass right in the middle of Dunk trying to find his final champion? This show is deeply, deeply committed to gross humor, and I understand the intention. They want to keep the tone grounded and crude and distinct from the grandiose of other Throne shows, but you can be crude without undercutting tension every single time with bodily function jokes. There are ways to bring about gritty without making it feel like someone in the writer's room can't resist a fart gag. I genuinely wonder if Ira Parker giggles uncontrollably every time someone makes one into the script. What really works though, what truly makes this episode stand out, is that this is the moment Dunk becomes a real knight. Not in title, but in action. Knights begin choosing to follow him because of who he is, not because of who he claims to be. His honesty, his fear, his refusal to back down from what's right, that's what draws them in. That's the heart of the story. Which is why it's such a shame they cut out one of the most important beats from the novella, the remember your vows moment. This scene is crucial. It explains why knights start stepping forward for Dunk. It explains why Baelor sees what he sees in him. Without it, some of the emotional logic relies more on viewer intuition than storytelling setup. We also saw trailer footage that simply isn't here, and honestly, Honestly, this episode needed more room to breathe. Would it have killed them to make it 45 minutes? I would have loved just a little bit more time with Dunk's champions. Give Lord Lionel Baratheon a beat. Let Sir Humphrey Beesbury, Lord of the Mustache, man, that was a sexy mustache, say literally anything. These men are about to risk their lives, and we barely get to know some of them. For the record, these are Dunk's champions: Sir Lionel Baratheon, Raymond Fossaway, Sir Humphrey Harding, Sir Humphrey Beesbury, Robin Riesling, Baelor Breakspear. That's a lineup worth a few extra minutes of screen time. Despite those frustrations, episode 4 is where the show finds its soul. This is where you understand who Dunk really is, who Egg will become, who Baelor truly is, and what knighthood is supposed to mean in Westeros. The Trial of the Seven hasn't even happened yet, and this already feels like one of the strongest episodes of the season.